Live.
Yeah.
What's good?
Hi.
What's
Hi,
cracking?
friends. We jumping into it with rap shit. It's your go,
Jumping right
babe.
in. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Last one for the year.
Last one.
All right. Canary Yellow 79 Seville is on display. My nigga Bongo hooked it up. Omar gon' dip my rims today, so a nig can ride out to the honeycomb hideout. I'ma show you how to wild out like Jack Tripper. Let me be Bambino on your snipples. YKK on your zipper.
Mm-hmm.
Lick you like a lizard when I'm slizzard.
Mm-hmm.
Or sober 6 million ways to fold you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it seems like you got an idea, so let's see.
Yeah, this is definitely Outkast.
That helped you a little bit.
Okay. So it's Outkast.
Song.
Yeah. Okay. This is Big Boy's part.
Okay.
Is this Sorry Miss Jackson?
Mm-mm.
Excuse me. That's yeah. I'm not gonna get the name of the song. It's gonna take me too long. I might have to go through all of the lyrics.
Or sober 6 million ways to fold you. Like Noah, I get you two of yous and get you pretty D. But I'll call your ass around 8ish. Cause I know you're there with me, cause
ain't nobody.
there you go.
Yeah, it was just gonna take me
So
too
fresh
long
and
to
clean,
get to the
clean.
end
Two
of
extra
this
bars.
song. But yeah, fresh and clean.
So fresh, so clean.
So fresh, so clean. Yeah.
Shout
That was a trip and stumble and fall into the answer, but I'll take it.
You made it there. Win is a win.
I made it eventually. I'll get there.
Win is
Gotta
a
be
win.
quicker than that. Yeah, but good one, babe. Not bad.
Appreciate it.
Not bad. Gotta love the Outcast.
For sure.
Yeah. So welcome back, everybody.
What's up?
I'm feeling very elfish today. Like we're giving you Christmas realness. Okay. I hope you're into it. But yeah, this is a One Thing for Certain podcast, child. For me, myself, Alia King, and my husband,
Carrot King.
we talk about all the things that maybe people like to talk about. Okay.
Indeed.
And that's essentially like a very specific amalgamation, if you will, of all of the things that we find interesting. Okay. And we get up here and kiki with us, in our little private corner of the internet with our friends. And that's you. So if this is your first time, welcome. If this is like your second or third time, peeking your head in, being like, I think I like them. Hey y'all, you do. You like us. So make sure you press that subscribe button. Just go ahead and knock that out.
Press that
so
thing.
you can make sure that you come back and see us on the regular, okay? And like Carrick said, this is our last episode of 2024.
Last episode of the year. You know what I'm saying? By the time y'all see this, we'll be what?
It'll
2 days before Christmas.
Yeah, this is a week
God
of
willing.
Christmas. This is the week of Christmas. Happy Monday, kicking off your Christmas work week for the last week in the year. We will be seeing you guys in 2025.
Yeah, shout out to y'all that's still working or watching this podcast while you work to pass the time.
Okay.
During the week of Christmas.
We love you. Like we shall never part. Yeah, keep fighting that good fight, baby, because we know how it is. Okay, we understand. But yeah, without further ado, we're gonna jump into the episode, honey. And we got a good one for y'all because it's gonna be everything at 2024. Okay, we're gonna kick it off, of course, with our current obsession. And like I was saying, we're gonna do basically our favorite moments in 2024. We're gonna do a recap. Babe, did you want to start with your list? With your items that you thought was a highlight of the year?
I mean, you say items. I feel like for me it's pretty easy. I think low key to me the king of the year is some people would say is Kendrick. I think I'm gonna put Kendrick at 2. I think Cat Williams is actually the king of the year.
You think Cat Williams is the king of the year?
Low key, only because Cat Williams started the year with the energy that exploded and expanded and still is reaching to impact the year with just this energy of truth mixed with a little bit of lies, mixed with beef. It just kind of, I think
He
Cat
definitely
Williams
set the
won, man. He
tone.
set the tone for the year, man.
He did. He
And
set the
it's
tone.
still impacting. It's like the Big Bang. Like
Yeah.
it's still going.
He kind of feels to me, I won't say so I disagree, but this is your part of the list, but
Yeah,
I
I'm just
will.
trying to give Cat Williams credit because he
No, for sure. He
started the
definitely
year
kicked off.
literally.
He kicked off the year right, but I will say he felt more the like the county or the city yeller. Like like
The
back
British are
in like
coming.
facts, like back in like British imperial, like colonial times, like you would have someone
On a horse yelling.
literally yelling and announcing the arrival of the king or any news. Right, that's what it felt like Cat Williams did for 2024. He was
Yeah.
just yelling out what the overall thesis of this year was going to be, which was we telling it.
Yeah,
We telling it like it is this year.
I don't. I'm kind of going off the cuff. I'm thinking about Cat Williams. Obviously, Kendrick Lamar goes without like saying. We mention him every podcast. I don't know how we end up doing that, but
I
we
do
talking about the recap of the year. You can't leave him out.
at all.
He's, I think the beef was, the Kendrick and Drake beef was such a huge moment that is also had a big bang where it just kind of keeps going and expanding and closing out the year. Like it's still alive. Like this beef started in April. Well,
it started in
Wax.
February.
On Wax, it started in April with the big three. I guess that was the first shot over the wall. So
like we started out like this is literally going on for the entire year. It's
I think a lot of my stuff is probably gonna just be like good music that's come out this year. We had a great Glow project. We had a great, Doechii is closing out the year too with like a huge run. I'm thinking about Meg and Bigger in Texas and Meg Act 2. We saw Beyonce release
Cowboy Carter
Act 2 or Act 3.
No,
Act 2?
I don't know which act it is, but I just know the album is called Cowboy Carter. So.
Yeah. Just really a lot of good music, man, that came out of the year. I think that was dope. And we got, the Pharrell movie.
Yeah, Piece by Piece.
Came out this year, Piece by Piece.
Sick.
Yeah.
Fly. I love that. Well, I was a bit more
detailed.
Well, I wanted to make sure I didn't forget anything because I have terrible memory when I feel like Dory. I have like bad short-term memory. I feel like when it comes to things that like happened a while ago, I can, bring back up details. But if you ask me what I did last week, I'm not going to be able to tell you. So sure. I was like, I definitely need to look through like a comprehensive list of like what happened this year for me to really make sure that I don't forget anything that was really big. So of course, like you said, the Cat Williams Club Shay Shay interview was huge. It definitely kicked off the year with a lot of that really intense, just brutally honest and like
brutally honest, but a little bit of like sauce
shady
on it.
Yeah, saucy and shady. But also like curt and direct. Like I think everybody was just kind of embodying that energy. They were like, yeah, we just gonna get to the shit. Like we're gonna stop sugarcoating stuff and just get right to it. So that was pretty sick. Just very titillating. Killer Mike sweeping the Grammys.
Oh my gosh,
that happened this year.
Did it really?
Yes, it did.
I was thinking about. I was gonna put the Michael album in my recap, but it came out in 2023.
It did, but the Grammys was in 2024. So that's why it was not. It wasn't his album. It was him sweeping the Grammys. Is my highlight.
Best rap album. Best rap song. Best rap performance.
Yeah, I think
something
it was
like
those
that.
three
that
he was nominated for, and that he won all three. Fantastic. The Usher Super Bowl was this year.
Usher Super Bowl was this year. February
performance was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really exciting. Obviously, Kendrick Lamar, Drake rap beef feud. I truly felt like blessed to be alive.
I can't believe
I
it.
felt
Still can't believe
so privileged to be a witness to literally the greatest rap battle in history.
My dream came true, bro. I have been thinking that this was gonna come to it was going to happen at some point for years now.
Really?
I've always thought it was inevitable.
I didn't feel that way.
I felt like it was ever since Drake beat Meek and his star rose in like rap and hip hop because he beat Meek. It just kind of made sense that the waves was gonna clash at some point, and you had to. And I
just felt like they were both so firmly planted in their, like, to me, what Drake and Kendrick represent as far as like the spectrum of hip hop, right? You have like all the way to the left and all the way to the right, right? You have Drake, who is without a doubt an unequivocal, massive like rap superstar, and he's like, if you're going to classify different genres of rap, he is definitely a popular rapper, right? Like he is a pop rapper. That's kind of how he got his whole shtick. Like him staying firmly planted on the Billboard Hot 100 charts, like the image from, his Views album, like that's where he's been sitting on the top of the charts for 10 years straight.
Yeah, he's been Mr. Clout too. Like he's given, he's on all the features.
Yeah, his collabs, his relationships, like kind of the name that he's built for himself and things like that. But then you have Kendrick, who is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. Like his ability to string together incredible bodies of work, create themes and concepts,
and move things when he shows up.
Like he will
stops things.
And then show up.
He shuts it down. Everyone has to talk about it.
Everyone has to sit down and hush. Like
everyone has to sit down and hush.
Like he's calling class to order. Yeah, right. Like the professor just walked in, and everybody got to sit up straight. Yeah,
we got an album in two. How do we end up back on Kendrick? We had an album.
We talking about the biggest moments of 2024, and we're not going to sit up here and act like. You know what I'm saying? 3/4 of the year was not specifically dedicated to watching these two rap juggernauts go after it, like
crazy
Titans,
on each other,
literally
man.
go off.
They went crazy on each other.
And then like it felt like an even match, and then very quickly we realized that it wasn't. Like not even close, right?
On your left, just went right past them.
Oh my goodness, it was incredible. So that was phenomenal, and like I said, I felt truly blessed to be a witness, and to see that happen real time. It's something that we will never forget.
I won't.
We will never forget it. Like it is our rap, like Mount
Jay-Z,
Rushmore
Nas,
level altercations, if you will, draggings even. So that was that. And yeah, that's big. Oh, and last but not least, starting this podcast. Like
we did do that, huh?
Man. Starting this podcast, that's definitely a highlight for me in 2024. It's something that,
sorry.
We like this brainchild, this idea that we came up with. Like it's truly something that I never thought we would ever do. Like at one point, it's always kind of been something I thought about, but always thought like, oh, that's for other people kind of thing. And then I was just like, yeah, let's try it. And you, crazily enough, allowed me to drag you yet again into another like creative venture that I'm super, super proud of and happy that we're doing it. I'm freaking like, shout out to us, bro. Yeah. The fuck? Yeah.
It's another late one, guys. Just gonna throw it out there.
You were gonna do it.
Had to.
No.
But we'll always do it.
Jesus, I really wish you wouldn't.
Why? Tell me the truth.
Really wish. But yeah, so those are my highlights for 20.
I'm sure we're missing a whole bunch, but
I mean, again, if I didn't say it before, for those of you who missed it, this is a curated list, okay, of what we want to talk about. So if you have your favorite moments of 2024 that you want to share, go ahead and put it in the comments.
Yeah, let us know what we missed.
For sure, because
I'm sure we missed stuff.
Yeah, no, there is definitely like...
We didn't talk about like the bad stuff or like, Kamala losing and people we've lost.
Yeah, I was just about to say like that was probably gonna...
just some downers and stuff. I lost a couple people on my side of, life. So,
yeah, the good with the bad. It's just one of those things, but we're happy for life and happy to make it through another year, man. Excited for the next one. So, moving on to Are We in Like or Love, y'all?
Oh, we getting into it?
We getting into it.
Oh,
Buckle up.
jeez.
For those of you who have not watched this season of The Ultimatum, go ahead and fast forward. Probably about, I ain't gonna hold you, like 20 minutes. We got a lot of stuff to get through. I'm gonna try to be concise, but y'all know how y'all girl get. So prepare oneself. Okay, everybody else with me? We gonna talk about the bull. Okay, so this season 3 of The Ultimatum
3 seasons.
was entertaining to say the least. I'm going to preface this by saying that ever since this show came out, I have questioned the sanity of the people who decide to participate in this show. I don't know why anyone would volunteer to essentially like donate their spouse and someone that they want to marry or is hoping asks them to marry them. Like why you would ever give your future life partner or who you're hoping is going to be your future life partner a way to be in a pseudo trial marriage for a few weeks. Like, that is insane to me. I don't understand that. And furthermore, for the people issuing the ultimatum and the people who are receiving the ultimatum, I don't get why you think going on a reality TV show is going to give you clarity to a question that all of us as viewers already understand, or at least I feel as though I understand the answer to. Like, if you want someone to marry you, or you are marriage minded and the partner you are with is not marriage minded, and you think that the solution to that is going on a TV show to expose all of the I guess chinks in you all's like armor, that is pretty wild. Like, don't let us be the ones to have to tell you and hold your hand invisibly and be like, babe, he's not your man. But every single season they find more and more beautiful fools, more and more
How many people did
unfortunate,
start
poor
with? 10?
unfortunate souls.
5 couples?
Yeah, to go onto
Or
the
8?
show and
Something like
I
that.
don't know, to go onto the show and submit their troubles to the world. So, anywho, this season was no different. The city they were in this year was in Vegas.
It's Vegas or Phoenix?
One of them very dry,
Memento.
very arid, very west places. But anywho, there were 5 couples, I think. There was Micah and Chelsea. There was Dave and Vanessa. There was Nick and Sandy. There was Zaina and JR. There was Aria and Scotty. And there was Caleb and his girl. I cannot remember her name.
The fact that you remembered all that is
I am actually super proud of myself. Can you look up who Caleb was with?
Season 3 was filmed in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, Arizona. Okay.
Ultimatum.
So we'll start off with the first 2 couples that I mentioned because they actually end up leaving the show. So we're going to be really quick with them. So Dave and Vanessa.
Caleb and Mariah.
Mariah. Very good. Dave and Vanessa and Chelsea and Micah. So Chelsea and Micah, really beautiful couple, you know.
Or Micah and Chanel.
Chanel, what was I saying?
I don't.
Okay, yeah. So Micah and Chanel, really cute couple.
Yep.
Like I said, the casting this year was phenomenal. Like, literally all of the women ate. They were all so stunning. Chelsea issued the ultimatum to Micah. You know, he seemed like he wants to marry her. He just wasn't in the right place, right? All these excuses start to sound the same. Dave and Vanessa, same situation. She issued him the ultimatum. Then you have Scotty and Aria, where Scotty actually issued Aria the ultimatum. And so basically they all meet each other, and we'll go through all of the couples as well. They meet each other, you know, they do their trial dating period and where they're trying to see who they're going to match up with. And, you know, they do their selecting and they start the process, right? So as as the process starts, you kind of start to see how people are spinning out at the reality of the fact that their person is now with someone else. One of the people who were the first ones to spin out was Dave. Dave, like I said, was paired with Vanessa. Um, Dave was issued the ultimatum. He's seeing his girl, who is now paired with Nick, having a good time talking and things like that. And he keeps coming up to her and he's like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Like, I feel like super overwhelmed by this process." And she's like, "I'm excited. I'm ready to get started." And he's like, "You're excited?" And she's like, yeah. So he's starting to have a bit of an issue. He's matched up with Chelsea. And she is a lot more, she's a really beautiful girl, really calm spirit, like super calming voice, really demure and like ladylike demeanor. She seems like a lovely young lady. She's having a hard time too. And you can see her, like they show film of her like leaving the apartment like really late in the morning, like 3 a.m. And Dave is like, "Hey, is everything okay?" He's just like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna go get some air." They pan over to Micah, the guy who who she's in the relationship with, and he's paired with Mariah, and he ends up leaving around the same time. So obviously they're going to go meet each other, right? They pan back over to Vanessa and Nick, who are hanging out, getting to know each other. They're both kind of like artsy, fartsy, like quirky kind of people. So they seem to like match up really well. Nick is an artist. Vanessa, I actually don't know what she does, but she mentioned that she wanted to do like she would like enter the bodybuilding competition or what have you.
When you say Nick, you mean Nick?
Nick as in the guy who came with Sandy, the one who crashed out. Crazy. But yeah, so he's starting to kind of have a hard time as well because his girlfriend Sandy is paired with JR. JR is this really like buff, tall, like black guy with braids, and he's really handsome. And you see your girl walking off with essentially the hottest guy in the room. You're gonna be a bit insecure about that. So he's starting to kind of have some problems too. So you see these two kind of like starting to spiral. And then all of a sudden, like they seem like they were hitting off okay, right? But then like Nick runs into his ex, Sandra, when they're like going to get groceries or what have you, and he loses it. He confronts her, all this stuff. He comes back and is like telling all of this stuff to Vanessa, and she's just sitting there like, "Okay. But do you want to talk about like us now?" So that seems like it was getting off to an awkward start. Then they show them leaving, like Vanessa leaving.
Dipped out.
And so they get back to, like, they basically meet up as a group, and they're like, I don't even think they meet up as a group. They essentially tell all the other contestants
that they dipped out.
4 contestants have chosen to leave. Okay. Micah and Chelsea, Dave and Vanessa. 2 couples choose to leave in the dead of night. They don't tell anybody. They don't tell producers. They just leave, and they never come back, leaving Nick and Mariah with no partner.
Yep.
No partner in this trial marriage. So for the next 3 weeks, they are literally sitting in their apartments by themselves while their partner is having a trial marriage with someone else.
Yep.
Just for 3 weeks. Mariah, she takes that time to like be really introspective and like writing and journaling and just kind of like being cool or whatever. Nick does not so much. Nick is an artist. Nick is someone who obviously he is a very emotionally like vulnerable, and at times it seemed like in this show through this experience, emotionally volatile person. Like he was going through very severe pendulum swings of emotions. Like he was mayday, like he was crashing and burning. Like he was losing it. There was literally a scene where he collapses on the sofa and is clutching his chest and it's like, why? Oh God. And I'm just like,
I mean, the context of the reunion, I mean, he lives below them. So it's just
again,
a lot.
I don't know why anyone would sign up for this. This seems like emotional torture. Like to to think about the fact that if you go through a breakup, even looking through your partner's like social media page just to kind of like see what they're doing and lurk on them, that's already emotionally damning in and of itself, because anything they're doing that even looks like any sort of like remote fun, you're pissed. You're like, how dare you be smiling without me, you son of a bitch, you never loved me, right? Like your mind starts doing wild shit. Imagine them motherfuckers being over
there above you,
and you can hear them, they're keying, and we'll get into that. Like, so let's fast forward to JR, because we could talk all day about how crazy Nick gets, and trust me, there's more. But like, JR and Sandy are, together, and they have a lot of physical chemistry with one another. They said that both of their love languages is physical touch. So there is a lot of heavy petting, there's lots of rubbing, there's lots of hugging, there's lots of hand holding, there's lots of caressing. It's every single time they were on camera, it looked like they were just on the edge of devouring each other. It was actually wild. Like, every time we saw them, especially the scene where they were like hanging out by the jacuzzi, we're like, oh, they're gonna fuck if they're not already. Like, it was just that palpable. They also seemed as though they really genuinely enjoyed each other's company as well, right?
Yeah.
So that obviously doesn't help. And if you're this person, if you're Sandy's ex and you're watching this as Nick, it's getting harder and harder as the day goes by for you to like recognize that your partner is really connecting with another person, right? So especially him as the person who issued the ultimatum, he is like, I have made such a horrible mistake. I basically sent my girl back to the streets.
Worst luck.
Worst luck ever.
Who would have thought that she would have, first of all, got a connection, but then got a connection with essentially the by rank and,
right,
and unbiased, like weird like, man stuff. He is the hottest guy in the room.
Yeah, he is. He is objectively, like, if you were to take a poll and say who's the hottest guy of the cast, it's more than likely going to come out that it's JR, right?
And she said that, like, she said like, oh, he was hot, and that's one thing. That's only one half.
She said it immediately as soon as she saw him. But she was like, oh, he's hot.
But like, that's one half of it, because for her to pursue him is one thing, but that's not what happened.
But he also, they chose each other.
He
pursued her. Like, they were both mutually like, yeah, I want to be paired up with you. And he's just sitting there like, the fuck just happened, right? So we find out later on in the season that he is basically love bombing and berating her. Sandy, and her name's Sandy, and he's like bombarding her and berating her and just essentially like overwhelming her with text calls. He even comes to their apartment because he found out where they live, and he contextualized it in the reunion that he knew that because he was sitting on the balcony one day, heard Sandy's voice, looked up and realized it was them, right? And Sandy actually does mention like one time when they're eating out on the balcony, she was like, oh my god, fuck, and JR's like, what's wrong? And she runs inside and she was like, Nick is downstairs, like he's looking at us. And he was like, what the heck? Find out later on, and we'll talk about it like in the reunion. That was not the one time that he came up to their apartment. He came several times, right? Like, he really was trying to basically get into the middle of this. And the scene where they show him coming to the apartment was really difficult to watch, because essentially he got sunned. That's insane. Like, JR came to the door and he was like, I want to talk to Sandy. He was like,
I gotta see. He knocked on the door. JR goes to the door, and Nick goes, I gotta see her. And JR's like, no, get the out of here. Like, get the fuck out of here.
And slams the door in his face. And slams the door in his face.
Keeps knocking. He comes to the door again. But this time, JR is in front of him,
and Sandy's like,
they're having a somewhat aggressive conversation, not something light, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then Sandy's behind him, is like, this is so unfair. This is so unfair. Yeah. So it's just, that's a lot for anybody, for any man to
not only
deal
that,
with.
like prior to him coming to the door, he was calling Sandy again, and he was
texting her a lot too,
to answer the phone, and he's listening to like, she has him on speakerphone and he's listening to the conversation. Like, apparently he had been harassing her so much that like JR felt protective over her. Like, and even Nick said, he was like, bro, you don't actually know her. You don't know us. You don't know like what we're going through. So can you just get out of the way? And he was like, no. And there was nothing that he could do about it. Like, he's asking Sandy to like intervene and things like that. And she's like, I just want you to go away. And he just basically got shooed. And he was basically told, go home, little boy. And I can't imagine how demoralizing that would be. I don't know why he stayed after that. I don't know why he didn't just leave.
I don't know
And
if it
then
matters as
essentially
much, but
like
Nick is 38, Sandy is 27.
27. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost a 10-year difference.
Oh, and JR is 33. So,
So like
I
kind of
mean,
right in the middle. But yeah, so that's JR, Sandy, and Nick, in their own triangle of like foolishness over there. Then you have Zaina and Scotty. So Zaina was JR's original partner. Scotty is Arya's original partner. They chose each other. They both issued their partners ultimatum. So finding a guy who issued the ultimatum and a woman who issued the ultimatum for the two of them was very like kind of cathartic and comforting. They, in the very beginning of their relationship, they seem to be hitting it off really well. So much so that even with Zaina like introduced him to her friends, she was like, yeah, basically I can either choose to like, either JR can accept my ultimatum and propose to me, or we break up, or there's a potential that I could leave here with somebody else. And her friend, I think one of her friends asked her straight up, she was like, do you think one of those people can be Scotty? And she was like, potentially. Like, and he was just like yeah, so they started off with a really strong connection. They seemed to really validate each other and their needs and what they were looking for in a relationship.
yep.
And then their relationship really turned left because they both groups, so the men and the women, had a girls' night and a guys' night, right? We're about halfway through the trial marriage process, and everybody's kind of in their honeymoon phase. Arya and Caleb are hitting it off really well, really like generating a true like friendship that started to develop into something a bit more, right?
It's actually really sweet.
It was really sweet because it felt like a genuine and authentic like cultivation of a relationship. They felt very seen and very heard. And Arya wanted to take the opportunity when she saw Mariah to basically tell her like what's been going on, especially since she's been by herself. She knew that she would probably have questions about how Caleb was doing and what was going on. And she thought that it would be a good idea to essentially tell her that, like, yeah, we're friends, but there could be something more developing there. And Caleb was like, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, he wanted to protect her feelings. And he's like, she's by herself and I know who she is. I know how hard, like, because of how she grew up and her, like, attachment issues and her neglect that she experienced as a young child, that like I don't think that that's an appropriate thing to tell her, and I don't think it's appropriate for you to tell her. So downplay the whole like this is more than just a friendship thing, because I don't think that's fair to do. And she was like, I mean, okay. So during the guys' night, they're all chopping it up, talking to one another. Everybody's
and this
cool.
is Caleb, JR, Nick, and Scotty.
Correct. Yeah. Right. And so, everybody's talking about their own experience. Nick and JR, as soon as Nick comes up, he shakes JR's hand and he apologizes for, essentially bombarding them and like coming to meet them at their apartment. And that was a very awkward exchange. JR kept taking like jabs at Nick, and Caleb was like, I mean, he's trying to apologize to you. I think this is a really difficult situation, so maybe you should kind of like, I don't know, calm down a little bit. And JR was not having it. He was like, you don't know what we've been going through. I think you need to mind your own business. And he's just like, I mean, that's weird. Caleb doesn't seem to be a very confrontational person, but JR, in all fairness, was being a bit much. Like, especially to someone who was trying to apologize to him. But again, with the context after the reunion that like his constant, incessant phone calls, text messages, and appearances to their apartment was such that whatever apology that he was issuing to him, he didn't felt as though it was genuine, because the actions that he was exhibiting was repeated and constant and never ending. So he was just like, fuck you, kind of. Anyway, so Scotty starts talking about his experience and blah, blah, blah. And somehow in the middle of the conversation, JR interrupts him and he was like me wanting to have a hall pass, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
he kind of said something to the effect of like,
It was a little bit more direct, I think. It
yeah,
was like I heard, like you talk, like they were having some type of
yeah.
conversation, and Jared was like, yeah, like you talking ish about me. And he was like, what did
He
I
was like,
say?
what do you mean
What
by
did I say
that?
about
Like,
me? Like that I'm here for a hall pass? And he was like, why would I say that?
and he was like, I don't know, maybe because like you want me to like maybe because you feel threatened by me or something.
Something like
I
that.
don't know what it was. Basically they had an issue because JR thought that Scotty was talking crap about him and he confronted him about it. Scotty felt very offended by that assertion, and when he came back to the apartment, he was on one,
Yeah, he
to say
was.
the least.
It was also Jr. was also talking to Arya too, with Sandy before he made a decision. So there was also a little bit of that at play as well. Because remember,
Yeah.
Jr. was engaging with Arya. Because no surprise, he more or less had like
He had
the
the pick
pick
of the
of the
litter.
litter. I think there were maybe Mariah
I don't think she was interested in
in
him
him
at
at all.
all.
That was
I
maybe
don't even think
about
they
it.
spoke to each other. Like if
Yeah,
they did, it was very short and not
yeah.
eventful. So much so that I don't even think it got any camera time.
That was the only girl that wasn't
Yeah,
like
that was
vibing
just
with him,
no.
feeling him or
It's the
anything.
only girl who literally just didn't care to engage with anyone else. Like she was really there for Caleb. But
Yeah.
anyway, so they get into it. Scotty comes back to the apartment on smoke. He has an attitude because essentially in his mind he had made up that it was Zaina who had essentially spun this narrative or told JR, had been communicating with him in some way, shape, or form. So she comes back and she's like, hey, and he's staring at her, like literally not even blinking. And she's walking in and she's like, right before she asked him if he's okay, he was like, hey. And she was like, are you okay? Again, pregnant pause, staring at her as he walks away. He was like, I'm good. And she's just like, okay, that was weird. So she follows him into the room and she was like, if you want to talk about anything, like, I'm here to listen. And she comes back into the kitchen and he finally asked, he was like, have I ever talked shit about JR to you? And she's like, why? And he was like, she's thinking, he's like, that's a very straightforward question. It's a yes or no question. And she's like, I mean, not directly. And she's like, why are you asking me this question? And like, what happened? Like, give me some context. And she finally pulls it out of him. And he's like, JR confronts me about me essentially saying that he wanted a hall pass. And she was like, oh, okay. And what did you tell me? He was like, I told him that I didn't do that. And she was like, so what are you asking me about it for? And he was like, have you been talking to him? And she was like, no. JR and I have completely cut off communication. And she was like, but why would you ask that question? Like, your questions are very leading. Can you just tell me what it is that you are already assuming? And he was just like, did you talk to him? She was like, no, I didn't. And she basically confronted him about the fact that he walked into the space confronting her because he had already made assumptions about what had happened, about whether or not they even gotten into an argument.
Right.
And she basically read him for filth. He really tried to gaslight her
Oh
and
yeah, he
say
did.
that like, oh, I wasn't asking you leading questions, or I'm not assuming anything about you. I'm just asking for clarity. She was like, no,
Talents to 10th.
you're asking me these specific questions, trying to lead me to this answer for what? Like, what is it that you're actually looking for? And he was like, I just want to know whether or not you spoke to him, because why? He was like, because I think that he got that information from you. And she's like, and so you already believe that I am somehow the culprit of it. And I didn't even know that you guys had a conversation. I didn't even know that you guys had an argument. So you have to remember that in a marriage, you can't bring whatever bad shit you had going on in your day and basically put that on your partner. And his apology to her after he realized that she was right, his version of an apology to her was, I'm sorry you felt that way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that my questions made you feel that way. What I realized very quickly in seeing his exchange with Zaina in that moment is that Scotty is the type of person who argues for the sake of winning.
Yep.
He wants to know that he has bested you in this verbal sparring match. And if he doesn't, and is finally found wrong, he will not take accountability for it whatsoever. He can never be wrong. He has admitted to her that he has a very like big problem with rejection. There was this really awkward interaction with them where he asked her to go on a date and he was like, what if we go like in a hot air balloon? And she was like, I'm scared of heights, so that's basically a no for me. And then he mentioned like something else and she was like, I actually hate the cold, so that's a no. And he was like, well, dang, if you don't want to be taken out, then just say that. And she's like, wait, are you okay? Like, what, how did this become an argument? Like, how are we having an issue? And he was like, I have a problem with rejection. And she was like, you throwing out two arbitrary, like, ideas that I personally don't like is not me rejecting you. You're asking a question and I'm giving you an answer. Like, it doesn't mean I don't want to go out with you. Like, we don't know each other. So you guessed two things that happen to be wrong that I would never be interested in doing. So that's not a rejection of you. That's a rejection of the activities. So anyway, he has a bit of a thing going on. I personally don't care for him very much. He's a very articulate and clear and decisive person when he speaks. However, because he understands his way like around a sentence and he knows how to debate you, he can manipulate. He's a type of person who will flip the script on you in a conversation very quickly. And he tried to do it to Zaina and she wasn't going for it. So ever since that moment,
Zaina moved out towards the end.
They were having a bit of a problem, and like ever since then, they just kind of never got back on track. Right? Like they were doing really well and then they had that argument and then it was bad from then on because she started to recognize like that he's a very passive person. He would say like kind of slick stuff like, you know, you always sneaking off and texting in the middle of the night and stuff like that. And she was like, why don't you just ask me what you're trying to ask me instead of this like verbal minefield that you're trying to navigate me through. Like just say what it is that you want to say. And he was like, oh, I think that you're like talking to JR. And she's like, I'm not speaking to JR. Furthermore, like, why are you trying to clock me? Like, what is actually your problem? Are you obsessed with him? And he goes off. He was like, I ain't obsessed with no damn JR, da 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 da, la la la. And she's like, you obviously are. So they're going back and forth and it gets really nasty. He tries to bait her with like really insulting comments like, you're really too old to be acting like this. And he was like, I see how you're trying to flip the narrative, but that's not the case.
Come with a better argument.
Come with a better argument than that. He was like, you're going to have to find a better way to like good try on the misdirection, but it's not going to work. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he was like, I see you trying to gaslight the situation. She was like, coming from the person who's gaslighting me right now, that's hilarious. And like every move he had that he tried to throw at her, she was not going for. And she was just like, I'm going to go because this is pathetic. I just want you to know that I don't engage in this type of like play. Like if you want to have a conversation like an adult, we can. But if you're not going to be honest about what you're doing and like how you're showing up in this fight, then like goodbye. It was very clear to me in that moment why Arya wouldn't want to marry him. Because she would say all the time that he couldn't take accountability. And she was like, I don't like the way we fight and the way we have conflict is always very like hard. She was like, even when she was talking to Caleb, she said to him that like basically he always has to have the last word. Always. So that's the two of them. Child, fast forward to the reunion or fast forward to the selection day. When push comes to shove, when Zaina gets back with JR, he does not propose to her. When Mariah and Caleb get back together, he does propose to her, which was a little surprising because when they reconnected, it was very difficult at first. Like Mariah, on screen, Mariah had a lot of like emotional offloading to do and wanted some clarity as far as like how Caleb showed up in him and Arya's trial marriage, and he was very vague and very like dismissive of the connection that him and Arya had, and that kind of irritated Arya because she wanted him to express that to Mariah and he just wouldn't, because I think he thought that protecting her feelings was more important than anything. So, and
I can see why, given the context that she was in there by herself.
Completely by herself. And he was really sensitive to that.
Quick aside, that part was new for season 3. They haven't shown or done that where because couples have left before early, but the people that they were paired with don't usually stay, or maybe these couples leave before they're even paired. Like I know
Yeah.
one couple in particular that we were talking about the other
Yes.
day. I don't think they were actually it was a
No.
one conversation.
They didn't even make it to the matching
Exactly.
before
So
they left.
I don't know if I like that part, because you're to have to do this experience by yourself, knowing that your partner, it just kind of, Sandy brought it up on the reunion, like
It
it
threw off the
changed the
dynamics.
dynamic. You know, it's kind of having like an odd man out type thing.
Yeah.
And so she's naturally talking about
Attachment styles.
Mariah.
Yeah.
She already had like this type of personality to be like super what did she call it? She called it like super verbal,
Yeah.
like, or super attentive or something like that, where she wants to know and she's asking questions all the time and stuff. She was already like that.
Yeah.
For her to end up by herself,
I mean, she was
it
just
just
in her
kinda,
head all day.
yeah. And same thing with Nick. Like I know Nick, you know, he crashed out, but he it was the perfect storm for him to crash out, because his person left, and in the dead of night, with no kind of notice or anything, and then he was just left to think about his other, you know, his partner that he came here with. So
yeah, and all of his worst suspicions felt like they were being confirmed, because he saw he saw firsthand how close they were getting, right? So he wasn't doing very good. So since we're talking about them, Nick and Vanessa, when they got back together, they seemed to, you know, kind of talk through their issues, but they really did seem to have like a lot of love for each other. I thought that like Sandy wasn't that into him, but seeing them paired back together,
Sandy never really seemed like his girl for real.
She didn't.
They think they were dating for 2 years,
like 2.5
2.5 years. Yeah.
And she seemed like she was kind of checked out when she got there, because she said that in their relationship prior to getting there, that she felt very neglected in their relationship. So she was incredibly surprised at how like jealous and possessive and kind of like crazed he was being, right? Like it was very alarming for her. And so them reconnecting, you saw that she really did have a lot of love for him, but when it came time for him to like essentially for her to answer the ultimatum, like either propose to, or for him to propose to her and her accept, or then break up, he literally went to motion to go into his coat pocket, and she was like, no. Like she literally tried to stop him. She was like, and he was like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing?
Damn.
And he revealed at the reunion that he knew he wasn't going to propose to her. At least this is what he is saying.
That's what he said.
That's what he says.
Smart.
That's what he said.
Smart
that I wasn't
say.
going to propose to you. I was just going to reach for a note because I had things that I wanted to tell you. But because of her reaction, he knew that like it was a done deal. And it was probably the most painful looking breakup I'd ever seen, because she was doing that thing where she wanted to maintain like the victimhood position of like, this is so hard for me because like I really do love you and I have so much feelings for you and I love you beyond measure and beyond words, but I just feel as though like we're just not in that place right now. And he's like, okay, fair enough. I don't believe you, because if you love me as much as you say that you would, the reaction that you had at me even gesturing towards a ring would not have made you want to jump off, dive off this like literally promenade of steps. Like it was, they made her walk up. I can't believe they made her walk,
and they didn't make him walk.
He was dropped off
at the right place,
literally at the right place, and this girl walked 22 miles. It felt like up a hill in like, both directions,
up a hill
in like 6-inch heels. Yep. It was ridiculous. I was like, where the fuck are they taking her? Anywho,
that's crazy.
Like to see her like literally almost want to dive off the top step onto the pavement just at the gesture of him reaching for his ring was enough for him to essentially know that she was gone. She was on her way back to the streets and he could not follow her there. So it was horrible. They broke up. And was that, and last but not least, you have Scotty and Aria. I was rooting for Aria to break up with Scotty because I think he is, even though he obviously loves her, I felt as though how he shows up as a partner when they have conflict was so problematic in my mind, because like I said, any person that wants to win against you, if you are in a relationship, you have to accept that you guys are always on the same side. You guys may have opposing positions at the moment, but you're on the same team. If you ever go into an argument and a person's intent is to beat you, that is the beginning, to me, of a very cantankerous relationship, right?
Yeah.
If your goal is to best your partner in an argument, then there's essentially no lengths you won't go to. Manipulation, lying, gaslighting, pulling information, like sensitive information from your past in order to throw it in front of you, misdirection. And I saw him exhibit all of those behaviors throughout his trial marriage and when they got back together.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of their biggest problems. The way that they argue is always so problematic. And so when I saw that, I was already off the boat. I was like, I hope she doesn't accept his proposal. He's so good with words. He does this incredible speech and proposal, and then he gets down on one knee, and you hear her like want to say no. She's like, I love you so much. And she pauses, and he's looking at her, and then she goes, yes, sure.
I don't know. The only part of that surprised me was Scotty actually proposing. Really? Because the conversation they had prior to him proposing when they were standing there in the promenade or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't giving propose to me.
Okay.
Like with the conversation.
Yeah.
Like I kind of got a vibe like there's, you read the room and shit. It's like, especially in a moment like that, if you're going to have a conversation with your girl before and you're going to be like, okay, this is a conversation we're going to have. And then after this conversation, I'm finna propose. Yeah. At some point during that conversation, every guy has to be thinking, or at least I would be thinking, like checking the pulse every couple minutes. Like body language, what she's saying, the context in which she's saying it. Is she talking about, does this sound like, let's give us another chance? Or does this sound like we have a lot to work on?
Yes.
If it sounds like a lot to work on, might not need to propose right this second.
Maybe you leave that in your pocket, But he did, and she said yes, and I was surprised. But we found out later on in the reunion that literally a day later, she called off the engagement because she felt as though it wasn't right. Like he started to be like, oh, we should call our parents, and she didn't want to call her parents. Like even when they were in their trial marriage, when she went to meet up with her brother and her sister-in-law with Caleb, her brother admitted that he never liked Scotty.
Yeah.
And that made her really emotional. Like she did not want to tell her family that they were engaged. And it's because she knew it was a mistake. And I just think that they're not a good couple for each other. Honestly, because of him and the way he shows up. I didn't like him. I think that he has decent qualities, but that inability to take accountability in a relationship, he will, no matter what relationship he is in, he will always have problems. You have to be willing to say you're sorry.
Unless he finds someone that's maybe a little bit more submissive or malleable or less confrontational.
Yes.
Any of those.
Basically, he would have to find someone that doesn't require him to change.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And say that you're right all the time. Because I feel like he wants that too. Yes. Like, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, I am.
He always wants the person to concede to him. Mm-hmm. And that's just not how relationships work. So, anywho, last but not least, and I know we've been talking forever about it, but during the reunion, the person who definitely wanted to make sure that they got their lick back was Zaina. Okay.
Man.
Zaina, bless her heart. First of all, she is a stunning girl. She looks a lot like Cardi B. Like,
yeah, in a way.
I think she resembles her quite a bit, but she's a beautiful girl. She seems to have a really good head on her shoulders and a beautiful spirit. The problem that I think she had, and she said it herself in the reunion, that she was delusionally in love with JR. There were so many very obvious red flags with JR. JR was giving off big fuckboy vibes. It was just clear as the day is long. That he was a man, but he was not her man. Okay. When he broke up with her, I said specifically, I was like, I hope that she takes what he says at face value.
Yeah.
I hope that she has the courage.
Because he was never foggy. He was pretty clear.
He was very clear.
Yeah.
He was very clear. He said, I don't know if I want to get married because I've been married before. My marriage ended because of infidelity, and I am still, working through that issue. And I don't know if I'm ready to get married again. Zaina is at the age where she's like 32, and she's like, I want to be married. I want to have kids. I want to be married to you. So she issued the ultimatum. And when he didn't propose to her and he said, not only do I not want to get married right now, I think we should be single. I said, oh, he's breaking up with her.
Well, the thing is like once you propose and the person says no, to me, it's kind of downhill from there. There's no point in.
He didn't propose. He proposed and broke up with her. So I was like, I hope you accept this man's no. You brought him onto a show to basically show him why you are the caliber of woman that he should want to spend the rest of his life with. And after doing all of that, for him to then tell you no for the final time and break up with you, to not even say, I think we just need more time in our relationship before we get there, for him to say, and I think we should no longer be together. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a pretty clear ending of their relationship. Apparently it wasn't. After the breakup, they moved out of their apartment with each other. She moves across the street.
Or he moves across the street.
Yeah, they basically live across the street from each other, and they were still basically in what she thought was a relationship, because basically whenever she called, he answered, and they were still talking a lot, spending birthdays and Thanksgiving and things like that together, but he's showing up half-assed, and she's giving all of this, and she's like, what are we? And he was like, I told you we're broken up. And she's like, that's confusing to me because you're always here. And he was like, that's wild because I'm a city boy and we up. So I don't know what you want me to tell you.
He was on a self journey.
I'm on a
journey of self. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm doing my own healing, and I'm still processing. Well, process by yourself, boo. Okay, but it seems like she wised up, and she says that she's over him, and I hope she means it, because the way he played in her face and the way that she let him was honestly embarrassing. But she recognizes that, and she accepted it, and she's like, I'm 100% over you. So wishing them all the best.
Indeed.
It seems like Caleb and Mariah
are the only ones
who really,
and they're still engaged. So
they're still engaged, and they seem like the only ones who really made it out of there scot-free. Arya tried to crash out on him.
Arya did have a moment where she kind of a verbal throw up.
She did. She got
on the both of them, really.
She called them fake. She got a lot off her
chest. She basically threw a tomato and was like,
I don't like y'all.
I don't like y'all, but
and
then she got quiet. She was good after that. I just
felt as though it's because she got rejected. I think because of what her and Caleb experienced in their trial marriage. She was really confused at the fact that he proposed to Mariah. And I think she probably hoped that there could be a potential of them being together. Mm-hmm. And I guess she wanted him to know. But it seemed kind of pointless because you said yes to someone else and he proposed to someone else. So why are you still mad?
I think that's all part of the reason why she's mad. It just didn't work. It just didn't work out for her.
Yeah.
Like, the guy that she chose was not the right person.
It was not the right man for her. And the guy that
she was beginning to feel some,
she could have chosen.
Yeah.
Didn't choose her.
Chose somebody else. So she just
walked out with L's.
Yeah.
She looked great though.
She did.
Yeah.
I mean, Arya and Zaina are beautiful.
Honestly, Arya, Zaina, Mariah too. Wow. Whew. They look like Disney princesses. These women are so ridiculously gorgeous. Mariah is a freaking stunner. I thought to myself, I was like, if Caleb doesn't propose to her, by the time the reunion comes around, she will be married to someone else. Because no one's just going to let that
walk off like that.
No. But he wised up and he was like, oh, what is wrong
that dress she had on when Mariah, shout out to Mariah.
She was breathtaking.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Yeah. So we talked about that forever.
We.
Let's close it out with a bad opinions, babe. Let's end the year with a bad opinion. A popular social network or app you are not fond of.
Um, all of them, in a way.
Okay.
All of them, only because they all contribute to the general like influence that social media has on people nowadays, and how it's infiltrated our real lives in a way that at its worst
Yeah.
can be really bad and somewhat like influence like society and government
Yeah.
in ways that I don't think people are fully like prepared for, even in its, I think social media is technically what, 15 years old now, 20 years
Wow.
old or something like that. And it's at its peak, at least its current
It
peak.
feels like it, yeah.
So yeah, I think all of them have I mean, Twitter things, it's like what's that stuff to use in the outdoors to light stuff?
Oh,
Kindle,
yeah, kindling.
kindling. Like, a tweet does not have to be true or anything.
Yeah.
One tweet about the right person, right celebrity at the right time will is like
Set a fire,
it's
yeah.
like throwing a cigarette in a dry
Yeah.
wood area. It's
Yeah.
like the
It will
Smokey
just
the Bear.
catch.
It'll just catch fire, and then it just
spreads.
goes. It just goes to shit.
Yeah.
People on Instagram, that was Twitter. People on Instagram crash out. We've seen so many crash outs on Instagram between Cardi and Offset, between Blueface and that girl.
Yeah.
That I can't remember her name. Crystal. Boy, we sound old. Krishan, what it now?
What's that girl name? What's the little baby name?
Krishan now.
The one with the tattoo on her
I think her name is
Is her name Krishan?
Krishan, yeah.
Is that a name? Yes.
Yeah, between them two, just Remy and Papoose to close the year out. It just,
my God.
Just so many ways that people go on there, and then they go on their stories, and then they saying stuff, and it's just crazy. I
think the greatest illusion of social media is people thinking that they're safe or exempt from the ridicule. Like, everybody wants to participate in like the mob mentality, but people also want to participate in like the drummer boy syndrome, right? Like, everyone wants to be a star. Everyone believes that they're famous. Everyone has this Delulu idea that like, if I do the perfect dance, or if I sing the right thing, or if I dub the right thing, or if I make the right joke, that like I'm going to become famous and rich and everything will be great. But
yeah, and it works the other way too, because we saw, like, again, that same kindling, I believe it was on maybe TikTok, where this girl, the Haktua girl,
oh wow, yeah,
she had a moment. You can look it up. I'm not going, whatever. She had a moment, supposed to last 15 seconds, and it didn't. Girl ended up having a podcast based off of that one moment, having a meme coin, which is somewhat like a cryptocurrency coin, that crashed and burned, and people feel some type of way because they feel like, it was kind of a scam a little bit. And she just got all of these these opportunities and money just coming out of nowhere, just because of a moment that she had on social media. So it's very interesting what social media decides, and people decide to prop up,
yeah,
and what people decide to use to like tear down.
Even like the very mindful, very demure. Like,
yeah, those are trends are great. That is some of the like better things about social media, that like, if we,
remember the Who the Did I Marry? That whole thing.
Was that this year?
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah. That whole thing was insane.
Did that girl who said that she found a baby on the side of the road, was that this year too?
Child.
Damn.
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Oh Lord.
Just lying.
But yeah, it's interesting. The trends are great because it's fun. The new one now, or I don't know if it's new anymore, is last week's trend. We listen, we don't judge.
We listen, we don't judge.
Right?
Okay, listen, do not judge.
So yeah, the worst part of it is the swarming and killing that people do on, or attempt of killing, people do.
It's mob mentality at its
Yeah,
finest.
we see it with, Tory and Meg this year. With
literally anything.
Anything, Diddy, Bill Cosby, Jay-Z,
Yeah.
Wilson. It's just name someone.
We want someone up on that guillotine every hour on the hour.
100%.
We want somebody else to go after. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good
man.
one. I echo that sentiment entirely.
It's
to
all of
some
them.
degree, all of them.
It's all of them.
I hold social media like this.
Yeah, yeah. It's
like venom. It's like if you allow yourself to get too ingratiated in it, you won't be able to separate yourself. And there are people who have made incredible careers out of their presence on social media.
Yep.
But like that hamster wheel, you have to keep running.
Boy,
and you
gotta
can never
post.
You can never
I
end.
think Shade Room and Baller, they post like 50 posts a day, bro. It's kind of insane.
It's insane. It's insane.
To
and
get
you have
that
to
engagement,
maintain that level of
that
volume
impression,
constantly in order for you to be rewarded.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, speaking of rewards, we want to reward you, okay, for making it this far in the episode. We appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, man.
This has been freaking dope.
Yeah, I hope this is a good one for you guys.
Me
to end the year. If y'all have any suggestions on how we should end the next year, let us know. A different game or a special game or special topics or something like that. But yeah, man, this is 2024's Ultimatum. I think that's the name. Let's say it now.
Oh, 2024 Ultimatum?
Yeah, that's 2024's Ultimatum.
I like that. Okay, boom.
It's probably going to be the name of this. And
let it be.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy
and Happy
Kwanzaa.
New Year. Happy holidays. Okay.
Happy Hanukkah.
Love and blessings and peace to you and yours this holiday season. We appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all in 2025, y'all.
Yeah, man. Deuces.
We will. Okay, no matter where you go after this, make sure you go with God.
Go with God.
You better. Okay? It's a one thing for certain podcasts, y'all. Peace.
Peace. Deuces.